and this week I'm going to tell you if it's time to get rid of these masks.
Meat out or meat in? I'm Maggie Burke, and I'm looking into the controversy raised in the agricultural industry last week.
I'm Kelsey Briggs, and as more places begin to open safely, I'm here to tell you what you can expect from your Easter Sunday plans.
On today's episode, I'll be taking a lighter and a candle to campus to pay homage to the 8 individuals that died in the Atlanta, Georgia massage parlor shootings.
I'm David Moore, and coming up, you'll get to hear all about Cowgirl soccer and how they're one of the hottest teams at Oklahoma State University right now.
Hello and welcome to News OSU for March 30th, 2021. I'm Kelsey Briggs, and thank you for joining us. A few weeks ago, Governor Kevin Stitt lifted the statewide mask mandate, and many Oklahoma cities are following his lead. Stillwater could be the next city to lift its mask mandate. Caitlin Seiler has more.
Stillwater's mask mandate expires on May 25th, and the mandate may not be extended. Stillwater City Council will soon vote to extend or terminate the mask mandate that has been in place since the summer. Stillwater City Manager Norman McNichol says that even though the mask mandate may expire, it's still important to take safety precautions.
My opinion that if our numbers continue as they do now, that ordinance will likely be rescinded. We seem to have pretty good numbers in terms of those lower numbers of those hospitalized.
Oklahoma is about to move into phase 4 of the COVID-19 vaccination plan, and ICU numbers are now at much healthier levels.
Now, if the mask mandate expires on May 25th, it may not be time to get rid of these just yet. If you walk into a state or city building, you won't have to wear one, but local businesses or other stores may still require you to have one.
The city of Edmond was one of the first cities in Oklahoma to remove its mask mandate. However, some businesses are still choosing to make masks mandatory. Aspen Coffee employee Sadie Stewart says that Aspen Coffee will continue to prioritize customer and employee safety.
Knowing that to make sure that we stay safe, they'll still require us to wear them for as long as possible. I think until literally no one is wearing a mask and no one cares about it anymore, they're still going to keep that rule in place.
While many Stillwater residents wait to see if the mandate will be lifted, Oklahoma State University has not yet stated if they will require masks in class next semester. For News OSU, I'm Caitlin Seiler.
COVID-19 vaccines are available for free to OSU students. All you have to do is go to okstateportal.pointandclick.com and schedule an appointment for as early as April 7th. The state of Oklahoma is currently in phase 4 of the vaccination plan, meaning most people are eligible for the vaccine. Churches across the world had to limit their capacity for the first time ever due to COVID-19. Now, nearly 1 year later, churches are preparing for a large Easter Sunday Mass as vaccinations roll out. I spoke to individuals to get an insight on how churches will be preparing for Easter Sunday. Churches are preparing for the largest in-person services since the rollout of the COVID-19 vaccination. Nearly 1 year ago, churches had to close or restrict their doors due to those seeking hope within the pandemic. Through streaming services and limited Sunday services, churches around Stillwater were still able to reach those within the community. Individuals at high risk, like Lacey Hickey, have not been able to attend church until recently.
People want to be in church right now. They want to be in person and they want to worship in person, and rightfully so. And so people are eager to get back in the church, and I'm really hopeful with the new rollout of the vaccine that everyone is going to be safe and be able to get back in church soon.
Other churches around town are planning to have numerous services for individuals as well. While Easter egg hunts may be limited this year due to some COVID restrictions, individuals are finally able to get back to their desired place of worship safely and just in time for Easter Sunday. Tensions rose the last few weeks between Colorado and Oklahoma after proclamations were signed concerning eating meat and not eating meat. Maggie Burke has more.
Colorado Governor Jared Polis recently signed a proclamation making March 20th Meat Out Day, encouraging everyone to not eat meat for the day. The proclamation caused a large upset to farmers, ranchers, and those who work in the agricultural industry, as Colorado is such a livestock and agriculture-dependent state.
To not understand how big of agriculture state and meat production state, it would devastate Colorado's economy to eliminate meat production.
And we support all the commodities that are produced, and that includes plant-based products too. So like I said, I think that there's a way that you can promote plant-based products, but not putting meat where people won't buy meat or use meat for a day.
Meat Out Day in Colorado is nothing new, but it is new for a state official to sign on it. Polis signed the proclamation to promote cutting greenhouse gas emissions and encourage people to try plant-based food options. Polis did make a statement after receiving backlash, saying he still supports the meat industry and doesn't want to take away from the work they do in the state. Gretchen Maffei says that cattle are more sustainable than they have ever been, which is why the industry took so much offense to the proclamation.
Farmers and ranchers in Colorado decided to have their own Meat In Day on March 20th rather than partaking in the Meat Out.
Following this, Oklahoma Governor Kevin Stitt responded by announcing his support to farmers and ranchers, and he signed his own proclamation, making March 21st through March 26th Eat Meat Week. For News OSU, I'm Maggie Burke.
And now for this week's I'm Just Saying. Destiny Adams is at our Stillwater campus and is going to talk about the recent spike in anti-Asian hate and violence with a tragic event that occurred in Atlanta, Georgia.
COVID. To be specific, COVID-19. That name gets further and further away from China as opposed to calling it the Chinese virus.
According to the Stop AAPI Hate Reporting Center, 2,808 Asian Americans or people of Pacific Islander descent reported violence against them based upon their ethnicity. Now, this counting started when Donald Trump made the statements that was shown earlier in the video, insinuating that Asians or Chinese people were the cause of the virus, making them a target to some Americans. Nearly 80% of these crimes were verbal harassment. The other 20% consist of shunning, workplace discrimination, and even being physically assaulted, coughed on, or spat on. May 16, 2021 was an awful day for Americans across the board, but it was even more difficult for Asian American and Pacific Islander communities, who we are now referring to in short as AAPI communities. That day, 8 individuals were shot in Atlanta, Georgia by a white gunman. 6 of the 8 were Asian American women. The AAPI community does not think this is a coincidence, and to stand in solidarity with them and pay homage to the AAPI community in general, I've decided to bring a candle and a lighter to campus. I'm Destiny Adams, and I'm just saying.
Winter sports at Oklahoma State have officially ended after the Cowgirl basketball team was knocked out of March Madness. The Cowgirls fell to top seed Stanford 73-62 in the round of 32 last Tuesday. Freshman Nefertari Natoa of Australia led the charge for the Cowgirls with 14 points on 6 of 13 shooting. Natasha Mack added another 13 points and 10 rebounds to round out her career at OSU and become arguably the best player for the Cowgirls in the last 10 years. In ESPN's latest WNBA mock draft, Mack is projected to be picked 10th by the Los Angeles Sparks. Sadly, the Cowgirls were no match for the Cardinals, who moved on to the Sweet 16. What a season it was for the Cowgirls. First, their star player in Vivian Gray decides to transfer to Texas Tech during the summer, and then they're tapped to finish 8th in the conference's preseason coaches poll. But the Cowgirls weren't going to let that stop them, as they finished 3rd in the Big 12 with a 19-9 record. For their efforts, Natasha Mack won Big 12 Defensive Player of the Year, and Jim Littell was named Coach of the Year. Moving to the men's side, head coach Mike Boynton is going to continue calling Stillwater home for the foreseeable future. Yesterday, Boynton signed a 7-year extension worth $21 million to coach the Cowboys. After what Boynton has done for the Cowboys in his 4 seasons with the team, the extension is well worth it. And moving down the road from GIA to Neil Patterson Stadium, OSU soccer typically plays games during the spring to stay fit and get some playing time. However, there's a lot more on the line this spring after the NCAA moved the women's soccer championships to April. David Moore has more on how the Cowgirls are faring this season.
Heads up. Oklahoma State Athletics is firing on all cylinders this spring. Both basketball teams partook in the big dance and won a game. Meanwhile, softball, baseball, and wrestling are all performing well. One team you might not know that's hitting their stride plays right behind me here at Neil Patterson Stadium. Cowgirls soccer is flying high this spring and on an 8-game winning streak. Ever since the team started playing again in February, OSU has defeated all 5 of its opponents. The Cowgirls have outscored their opposition 15-3 so far in 2021. The latest victory came on Saturday. OSU lifted the Bedlam Series trophy after defeating Oklahoma in front of a loud Neil Patterson Stadium. Head coach Colin Carmichael says that with every other OSU sports program performing so well, it adds some fun pressure to the season.
We usually don't play in the spring, so I usually just get to sit back and watch everybody else in the spring. But right now, you do feel a little bit of pressure. Like I don't want to be the team that doesn't do well. You know, we want to be right there with everybody else.
In the past, college soccer has played the Division I championships in the fall. Due to the COVID-19 pandemic, the NCAA announced in September that the championships were being moved to April and May. With the Cowgirls playing so well this spring, senior defender Charmaine Morgan says getting past the second round of the tournament is the goal.
This national championship, I think we've all kind of mentioned that we'd like to get, at least past the second round. I don't think we've gotten past the second round, at least since I've been here.
OSU will face its biggest test of the season against number 4 TCU on Saturday in Fort Worth. After that, the Cowgirls return home for the regular season finale against Notre Dame on April 11th. The team will then await the selection show for the Women's Soccer Championship, which will be on April 18th. For News OSU, I'm David Moore.
In other spring sports, Bedlam Baseball will have its first game this season when the Oklahoma Sooners head up to Stillwater to face OSU tonight at 6 p.m. The Cowboys are currently ranked number 16 in the nation and are coming off its first conference series sweep against Kansas State. It will be the first Bedlam game for many of the Cowboys, including pitcher Bryce Osmond, who will get the start on the mound tonight. Growing up a little more than an hour away in Jinx, Osmond says it's an honor to play in Bedlam.
And I'm really looking forward to it. I'm super excited. I'm going to try to go to bed about 10 tonight so I can get some sleep. But yeah, I'm really excited and ready to go.
Both the baseball and softball teams will be competing at home this weekend as they host West Virginia and Iowa State respectively. This will also be the first Big 12 weekend home opener series for the Cowgirls this season. The games will be running Thursday, Friday, and Saturday instead of the normal weekend schedule because of Easter on Sunday. And finally, switching gears from the grass to the turf, we're 2 days away from the Cowboy football's Pro Day. This is a big event for many former Cowboy football players because there is no in-person NFL Combine this year. So this will be the only time for players to show off their talents in front of scouts from all 32 NFL teams. Highly touted prospects to be at the Pro Day include Tevin Jenkins, Tylan Wallace, Chuba Hubbard, Rodarius Williams, and Eamon Ombambamiga. I'll be covering the Pro Day on Thursday, so make sure to look out for my video in next week's edition of News OSU Sports.
Thanks, Joe, and that's it for this week's News OSU. Stay safe, go Pokes, and we'll see you next week on News OSU.